sir.
The angle is reasonably tight. So
Okay.
try to stay at the
Stay right here? Okay.
I mean, you can dance a little side to side, but if you go walkabout, you're going to be out of camera.
Right on. All right, good afternoon. Appreciate everyone staying around and enjoying the conversation here for badge cloning with Doppelgänger. A little bit about me. My name is Travis Weathers. Spent 12 years in Army Special Operations and Joint Special Operations. I currently do a lot of veteran mentorship. I also run the attack and penetration practice over at Optive Security. So we do everything from net pen, red team, purple team, physical security, wireless, IoT, you name it, we do it. For me, physical security is my passion, so that's what I grew up doing as I stepped out of the military in 2015. I am not a developer, although I did write Doppelgänger. So keep that in mind when you go looking at the code. It's likely garbage, but it does work. So there's that. And one other thing about me, fun fact, I did get a comic book feature in Prompt earlier this year, so huge shout out to Ralph and the Black Hills InfoSec guys for making that happen. So a little bit on the agenda. So why Doppelgänger came about, what I was aiming to do with it, talk about the features, a little bit about the hardware, how the back end works, how the front end works, future development. Things we're not going to cover are Wiegand basics, RFID technologies, or cloning tactics. That's all been covered 100 times in different presentations. If you have not done any type of training with Wiegand or RFID, I strongly recommend the Red Team Alliance guys. I had a chance to go and look at their facility yesterday. It's top notch, great trainers there, great folks. So why? Our team, we have a number of physical security kits that consist of long-range readers, lock picks, various bypass tools. We pass those around the country to consultant to use on each engagement. Over the years, they kind of got run down. We had a big engagement in December. We had to send multiple consultants out to multiple facilities, and some of the badge readers were broken. At the time, we were using We Gotcha. Anybody ever have any experience with that? No? Yep, one. Great firmware. It runs on a Raspberry Pi. So when I went to purchase new Raspberry Pis, I saw the cost of the Pis shot up from about $5 to $8 when we first bought them, all the way up to as high as 180. I think was the highest one I found. So that made it no longer a viable option for me and my team. So in addition to that, as a practice director, I kind of stepped away from delivery, lost some technical skills, so I figured I'd go and dive in the rabbit hole and see if I can't make something unique, specific to our team. So why not the ESP key? ESP key is a great device. Anybody in here do practical physical security work for clients right now? So I imagine you've used the ESP key a time or two. So great device. It's incredibly small. It requires no additional power. Handles the 5-volt Wiegand signal. There's no need to change the level of it down to 3.3 volts for the processing. You can do replays of captured cards. You can embed it in a reader. The only downside to the ESP key when I went to go and build this new updated firmware for our kits was it didn't have an egress method. So if you've ever been out and done long-range badge cloning, you know that it could be a bit tedious. You've got the badge reader on your hip. You'll walk around, think you got a badge. You'll have to stop and kind of look at your phone, see if there's actually a badge read there. Sometimes it's bad data. Sometimes it's nothing at all. Sometimes you have your own badge hanging from your shirt and you're reading that. So I wanted to eliminate the necessity to check your phone while you're out and about. I wanted to be able to just get a text message or send it to the reconnaissance team that's on the outside to get that badge, confirm that it's good, write the badge, and then we're ready to go get into the facility without having to look at any additional hardware. So Definitely check out the ESP key. It's a great device. You can get them from redteamtools.com. Go buy one. So the intent, had a lot of goals in mind for this, but primarily I wanted to do long range-ish Wiegand-based credential capturing. So we use any number of the parking garage type readers. We've tested it with the MaxiProx, iClass SE, and the Indala readers. It'll work with anything that puts out a Wiegand signal. It needed to be hot swappable devices, so something that you could just grab off of Amazon if you're away traveling and you need to have something overnighted to you. The operator couldn't go into a comms black hole when they're connected to the device. So another downfall when we would use the WeGotcha, we would have to connect to the WeGotcha interface over Wi-Fi via our cell phone. And once you do that, you lose Wi-Fi calling. Somebody sends you a text message. Chances are you're probably not gonna get it. And then the big one was to get those egress notifications, to send that data somewhere as soon as it came in real time. Additional features, we wanted to make sure we did some type of error handling. So if you do walk past the badge too fast and you don't get a full read, you're not getting errant data sent to your device. You're only getting those good reads coming in. And then finally, it had to be easily configurable, easy to reset, so that way at the end of an engagement, you can wipe the entire device, send it through FedEx, send it through the airlines, and not have to worry about compromising your client's data. So features. It uses Wi-Fi Manager as the setup, so similar to the ESP key. Everything's done through Wi-Fi Manager to connect to your hotspot. It uses MDNS, that way you can type in rfid.local to view the reader instead of trying to figure out what the IP address was that your phone assigned to the device. The email or text notifications, clean web interface, so we didn't want anything on the web interface that would cause it to be clunky or distract when you're walking through and looking at your phone. And then the web application-based reset functionality. So for the device that I chose, you can use any ESP32. You'll just have to make some changes in the code. But the two that I went with were the SparkFun IoT Red board and the SparkFun Thing Plus. I initially went with the Red board because it had a lot of different I/O on it. And that helped me kind of set up the path that I was going to take when I got started. Once I built the project, I have since transitioned to the Thing Plus, as it's much smaller in form factor. You can get it in more places. Yeah, it's a great device, highly capable. Again, we've tried these with the MaxiProx readers, the iClass readers, and the Indala readers. I put the model number there for the iClass. That specific model number does support legacy iClass, so you could do both SE cards and iClass cards. So I'll leave this in here if anybody wants a screenshot or to pull it down. These are just some additional components that you'll need to get the badge reader up and going. For the wiring, this is all up on GitHub too. Everything that's in this deck, you can go there and see all the wiring data, so you can build your own reader. This is essentially using the IoT Red board for the iClass SE. This is just how you would wire it in. Kind of interchangeable with each board, and we'll talk about what changes you need to make in the code if you were to go with the smaller Thing Plus. There's the MaxiProx. And then finally the Indala. For the Indala, you're definitely going to want to get the Thing Plus board. As you'll see here in the next photo, how tight of a compartment it is that you'll have to embed this into. Here's the installation. Pretty easy to put together. The Indala does take some good soldering skills. You'll have to pull out some pins and put your own in there. Everything else is pretty much plug and play. Here's the iClass SE reader. Again, this is pictured with the IoT Red board. I would recommend going with the Thing Plus C just because it's smaller in form factor. And finally, the MaxiProx for HID Prox badges. All right, so on GitHub, when you pull down the code, it's super easy to do. If you're going to use either board, just go into the platform.ini file. It's commented out. Just comment what board you don't want to use and uncomment the board that you do want to use. The libraries are all there, ready to go, ready to be pulled in. We leverage a bunch of them because, again, I'm not a developer. I'm relying on other people's work. I just kind of fandangled a way to get it to go and do what I needed it to do. Within the main C++ file, everything is in there for instructions if you wanted to use either board to let you know which pin to change in which area. Everything's commented out for you. For the default SSID and password, default SSID is Doppelgänger. Under the radar is the default password. You can go in and change that to match your own organization's needs or your own personal needs. The timeouts, these are important. So initially when Doppelgänger boots up, after a period of 2 minutes, it'll time out if you haven't applied any configuration, and it'll just reboot into that same boot process. If you have an AP stored, so if you've previously connected it to, say, your iPhone, it's going to first boot up and try to connect to that iPhone. If after 30 seconds your iPhone's hotspot isn't turned on, or maybe you've sent the kit to someone else and it's no longer your phone, it'll reboot and go into that original mode of hosting the Doppelgänger network, and you just connect to that and reset it. So here's the boot process explained. We won't spend too much time here. Essentially, right when you power it up, it initializes the GPIO, so it's just telling the ESP32 where the data is coming from. After that, it initializes the little FS file system. Only thing that's going on in that file system is your notification settings. So if you're putting in your Gmail password and your proprietary or your personal phone number, that kind of stuff in there, we don't want that stored on the SD card. We want that to be stored on the device itself. It then tries to connect to the stored network. If it's not there, it'll go into configuration mode. It then enables the MDNS service. This just makes it so that way you can enter RFID.local instead of going to whatever the IP address of the device is in your web browser. Then displays the network information, initializes the SD card. On the SD card, only thing that's running there is the web app, and then all your card data that you capture is going to be stored there. So if for some reason your device gets fried, you still got your badge reads on your SD card. Just pull that out, put it in your computer, and you're good to go. And finally, synchronizes time. We need that to send the emails. Otherwise, you're not going to get them. So here's a little bit more on what's going on when it actually does the timeout. Here's the attempting to find it. Here you see underneath that, no configuration, reboots. Card handling. So we talked a little bit about the error. And again, you only see this on the back end. So if you were to plug this into your computer for debugging purposes, this is the only time you need to see this. All the bad reads you're not actually going to see on the user interface. This is just here for debugging purposes. So here's a badge that's supplied. It didn't read, or maybe it was electromagnetic interference that caused that fake read, that caused the reader to geek out and send signals towards the Doppelgänger device. Or maybe you're just walking too fast. There's a loose GPIO. Just gives you some possible reasons of what could be going wrong with the device. And then on a good read, it'll give you the card bits, the facility code, the card number, and then the hex output. And then it does some logging. So first it goes to cards.json. Cards.json is rendered in the web application, and it's just limited data in there. It's just the bit length of the card, the facility code of the card, and then the card number associated. The full log is in cards.csv. Again, it's accessible from the web app, or you can take the SD card out and pull it off that way. That's going to give you the full data set, all the raw data, everything that you would ever want. And then finally, if notifications are enabled, it's going to send that information out. So there's just a quick look at the web interface or the Wi-Fi manager. Right when you turn it on, this is what you're going to see. You're just going to configure Wi-Fi. The way I have it set up now, as if you're in like a busy area like DEFCON, it's only going to show you like the top 25% of networks from an RSSI standpoint. So you're not going to see 200 networks. You're likely just going to see the closest 3 available networks, so you're not thumbing through forever. Alternatively, you can go in with no scan if you know your hotspot SSID and password. You can just plug it directly in, and it'll work that way. Update, you can do it over the air. I would recommend doing this over from your computer through a web browser versus from your phone, but you could do it either way. Here's a quick look at the web application, and then we'll jump into some demos. So initially, you're presented with that first from the right display. It just shows you just the card data, and then you have a few options such as resetting, setting your notifications, downloading the CSV file, reloading the web app, and then you can see off on the end what you would get in a text message should you capture a valid badge. All right, so I was going to do live demos, but I tried to do live demos at Black Hat earlier this week, and probably some of the folks in this village had other plans, and every time I would connect my wireless device to my wireless device, I would get de-auth. So this morning, I did my demos through a video, and hopefully that'll work. All right, so here what we're looking at is the smaller box. That's my phone there. We're going to turn on the hotspot with Doppelgänger. If you have an iPhone, you want to make sure you have maximize compatibility turned on. Otherwise, it won't connect. I'm not sure on Android devices. I don't have an Android device, so I'm not sure what settings you might need to fandangle there. The back is just the console log connected directly to Doppelgänger. So it's pretty quick connecting. I recommend using your computer to configure Doppelgänger to your phone versus using your phone to configure Doppelgänger to your phone. It just makes the process a little more smooth. So just like that, it takes only a split second for it to actually connect, and then you're up and running. To access the web console, again, just rfid.local in your browser. And then to set up your notifications, you'll just go into the notifications tab. Change it to enabled, enter your information, update your preferences. And there you go, you're off to the races. This is what it looks like if you were to get a bad badge read versus a solid badge read with the notifications enabled. Here we catch a bad read. It doesn't get logged. Solid read. It's preparing to send the information. It only takes a quick second for you to get that notification. And there it is. So real time, you can relay that to anyone you want. Have it for logging. Timestamps when you're doing physical assessments are critical. And then finally, when you're done with your assessment, you want to reset it, here's just an illustration of the front and back end of resetting the data. It's just erasing just the card data. So sometimes if you're going to keep the kit for yourself, all you have to do is wipe the card data. You can leave your network configurations in there, so that way next time you turn it back on, you're ready to go for your next assessment. Or you can do just clearing out the Wi-Fi credentials, just clearing out the notification settings, or you can wipe the entire device back to its factory defaults. There we go. All right, so what's next? All right, so what's next for Doppelgänger? I was hoping to have this ready before I came out here today. Additional modules inside your multi-class reader that you need. Slap it on a wall. You never need to touch it again. It'll give you everything you need via LTE callback. So that is coming. The single most impactful talk that I've ever watched at any DEF CON. Fine, folks. If you want to grab Doppelgänger, you can either grab it from Optive's GitHub or it's there. It's available. I will be pushing some updates to it over the next 24, 48 hours. Done here. Any questions? Yes, sir. Done here. Any questions? Yes, sir. So, yeah, that goes back to that second slide, long-range-ish cloning. So, ideally, if I was to take this reader and put it in the middle of this room, it'll catch a card from 14, 20 inches away. The second I put that in a bag, set it next to my metal belt, put it next to another RFID card or whatever